Hello all, my name is Hana Kujawa, and today I'm going to pass on some photography tips. We are going to look at different ways we can make photographs from the little details in the everyday. These photographs can be taken with a phone, tablet, or a camera. When we've found what we want to take a photograph of, it's a really good idea to slow down and make sure we've lined up what we want to take the picture of. When we're taking a picture of something that isn't moving, like a plant or a building, then you have lots of time to set up your shot. So when you set up your camera, you want to make sure that you've checked all the way to the left and all the way to the right, up and down. Make sure you've looked all around to see what's there. When we're taking a picture, it's also a really good idea to find the image we'd like to take, but then just take an extra step back. So I like to do that because often there's something I didn't really notice until I get home. And it's helpful if you give yourself a little bit of extra space just so that you get all of your subject and you make sure it's there. When you're home, it's super easy to crop your photograph. So it's always worth taking an extra little bit so you can make that decision later. When deciding to include more in the image, it's also a really good idea to check the angle of your image. Do you want to go a little bit to the right? Do you want to go a little bit up or a little bit down? It can change an image completely of the same subject just to go in a little bit closer or change the way you're looking. Often, when we're in a new city or at a beach, we get excited and take photographs. But when we're back home, we don't think about it as much or get excited. But there are many different ways to take an exciting photograph and ways that we can use images to play with what we see. When looking at this school, we might just think, oh, there's a big building. But there are many ways to explore this location. And this just looks like a playground in the sun. But when you see the sun reflecting off all those surfaces, that means there's something fun to play with. Here you can see the different ways the paint has been chipped off and the shadows of the playground that are on the ground. I think this makes some interesting photographs. In photographs, flowers are often looked at in the same way that you would put them on a bouquet. But we can also get in way up close and use those colors for some fun. Often, when you can't think of anything to take a picture of, holding your eye up to your camera can help you look at what's around you differently. Even if after a photo shoot you don't love any of the photographs you took that day, it's still a great way to get yourself outside and a way to get yourself looking at things a little differently. When you don't think you can find any interesting photographs, it's always a good idea to remember to look up and remember to look down. Because you never know what you're going to find that you might like. This time when I looked down, I found all these cool shadows. And this time when I looked up, I found this really dark tree and this cool triangle. Most of the photographs we see in social media or in magazines are pictures of people or nature. But photographs of small details or colors, interesting little things, those are also considered art. There are many ways to make an interesting photograph. You could make interesting pictures out of anything. I'm always excited by the strangest things in the city. Isn't it fun to find all the patterns that people have made? And if you zoom in, it's hard to tell that it's just staples in the city. So when I'm taking a photograph, I'm always one of those people that likes abstract paintings and weird photographs that don't always look normal and the colors look funny and you can't quite tell what's real and what's not. So sometimes when I'm taking a photograph, I like to be a little bit wild and use my camera and move it around quickly or pull it up and down, put on a flash when it doesn't need one, stick it inside a coat, do anything weird just to see what happens. And sometimes those images look terrible and sometimes they're my favorite. So I'm curious to see what kind of weird images I can get in this garden. So when I'm in the mood to take a weird picture, sometimes a place like this is somewhere I'll come. I'll get to a funny angle and do a zip, a zap, an up and down, shake the camera around, and sometimes the image you end up with really is beautiful and like a painting. And sometimes we're in the park looking at a beautiful tree and we don't realize that if we just look down, we're gonna see a bunch of amazing shadows created on the grass. And sometimes even just images of the shadows are enough to make a beautiful photograph. Just the different colors and textures are enough to enjoy without the subjects of the trees and flowers.
It's often fun to come in to different small details and see how you can play with them. Coming in close here, I can see all sorts of interesting patterns in the peeling off paint. When we find a cool structure, it's easy to just step back and take a normal picture of the whole thing. But it's also fun to come in close and look at it from the side, from underneath, and see what other angles we can find that show off the interesting little bits and pieces. Whenever we get in close, we can find all sorts of new little details. Grass doesn't seem all that exciting, but getting in close, we can find all these cool pink flower petals.
And it's also fun to start peeking through different leaves and grasses, see what different colors come out at different times of day. Sometimes you come across the most exciting things. Even bumblebees. Always remember, you can make art in absolutely anything. You can find it everywhere. Thank you for watching. I hope you picked up a few things about photography that were a little bit helpful or a little bit fun.